The massive warship Orion Star floated in the cold silence of deep space. Once it had been the pride of the United Earth Navy, a ship so powerful that entire fleets followed her command. But now, her mighty engines were dead. Her lights flickered weakly, and her crew moved through the long metallic halls with tired eyes and growing fear. For 3 days, the ship had been stranded near the edge of the Andromeda Belt. No signal could reach them. The communication relays were jammed, and worse, the ship's engine, a masterpiece of human engineering called the quantum drive, had completely shut down. Without it, they couldn't move an inch. Inside the control room, the tension was heavy like thick smoke. Dozens of engineers stood around glowing blue holograms of the ship's systems. Lines of red arrows blinked faster than they could be read. Commander Alara, the ship's chief engineer, rubbed her temples and sighed. "Ma'am, we've tried everything," one of her technicians said softly. "Diagnostics, reboot, even cold start override. The drive refuses to respond." The tall woman standing near the center turned slowly Admiral Rains, the commander of Orion's Star. Her sharp eyes studied the hologram, then the worried faces of her crew. She had fought wars, crossed galaxies, and faced alien fleets, but now, a dead engine was the enemy she couldn't defeat. How can a team of experts fail to fix what they built? She asked, her voice calm but filled with controlled anger. No one answered. The hum of failed machines was the only reply. Finally, one of the young officers spoke up hesitantly. "Admiral, there is someone who worked on the original quantum drive years ago. He wasn't part of the current team." Rains turned toward him. "Who?" The officer hesitated, looking down. "Commander Elias Ward, ma'am. Retired 10 years ago. They say he designed the first version of this engine." A strange silence filled the room. The name carried weight like a ghost from history. Some of the older officers exchanged glances. They all knew that name. Elias Ward was once called the Engine Whisperer, a man who could repair what even AI couldn't understand. But he had vanished after a mysterious incident that cost the Navy millions and ended a secret mission. Some said he quit in disgrace. Others said he walked away because the Navy betrayed him. Rains crossed her arms. "Elias Ward," she repeated softly, almost to herself. "He's been gone for years. No one knows where he is." "He's alive," said the officer quickly. "Last reports place him on the ocean planet Nereus 4. He lives alone near the southern ridge." The Admiral looked back at the hologram of the dying ship. Blue lights faded one by one as power continued to drop. She knew they had only a few days before oxygen levels became critical. "Find him," she ordered. Now, hours later, a small drone left the ship, carrying a single encrypted message. Its mission was simple: bring back the one man who could save the Orion Star. As the drone vanished into the darkness of space, Rains walked slowly to the main viewing window. Outside, the stars were still and distant, shining coldly over a dying ship. Her reflection stared back, a woman burdened by command. "Come back, Ward," she whispered. "Because if you don't, this ship will die." Far away, on a lonely ocean world, the waves crashed against black cliffs. A small house stood on the shore, lights dim but steady. Inside, an old man with silver hair sat beside a table full of scattered mechanical parts. His rough hands moved carefully as he adjusted a small broken device. When it finally lit up, a faint smile crossed his weathered face. Then a sound echoed outside, the whir of a Navy drone. Elias Ward looked up, his sharp gray eyes narrowing. He hadn't heard that sound in years. He stood up slowly, walked to the door, and stepped out into the cold sea wind. The drone hovered before him, projecting a blue hologram, the seal of the United Earth Navy. A voice followed, "Commander Elias Ward. By direct order of Admiral Rains, your assistance is requested aboard the Orion Star. Urgent classified emergency. Engine malfunction. Authorization code Delta 7. Ward's face hardened. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he reached out, pressed the hologram with his thumb, and whispered, "So, she finally needs me again." Psst. The message faded. The waves crashed louder. Somewhere deep inside him, Something old, something mechanical and human came alive again. The legend of the engine whisperer was about to return. The shuttle descended through layers of storm and lightning over the dark blue oceans of Nereus. 4. Wind howled across endless waves as the Navy drone guided its landing toward a lonely house near the cliffs. Inside, Elias Ward stood at his workbench. The message from Admiral Rains, still flickering in the air like a ghost he could not escape. He had ignored the Navy for 10 long years. He had built small machines for fishing boats, repaired generators for villages, and kept far away from the noise of war. But tonight, the silence felt heavy, almost accusing. The Orion Star, his old ship, his design was dying out there. It was calling him like a wounded friend. He poured himself a cup of black coffee, staring at the swirling liquid. His reflection looked older, colder, but not weaker. He still had that sharpness in his eyes. The same spark that once made him the Navy's most brilliant engineer. Then the wind outside shifted. A small military shuttle appeared through the mist, landing near the shore. 2 officers stepped out, their uniforms soaked in rain. One of them saluted sharply. "Commander Ward, sir. Admiral Rain sent us. The Orion Star is in critical failure. We need you aboard immediately." Elias didn't move at first. "Critical failure," he repeated quietly, almost to himself. "They built her wrong, didn't they?" The younger officer looked confused. "Sir," he turned his gaze toward the sea. "When you try to improve perfection without understanding its soul, it fights back." The officers glanced at each other, unsure what he meant. Then, without another word, Elias walked inside, grabbed a small metallic case, and came back out. Inside that case were his old engineering gloves, black fiber embedded with neural sensors and a data crystal labeled Project Orion, Original Core Code. He walked toward the shuttle as lightning flashed above. "Take me to her." Hours later, the Navy shuttle docked with the Orion Star. The once mighty ship now drifted silently like a ghost. As Elias stepped through the airlock, dozens of crew members turned to look at him. Some recognized him immediately, the man from the old stories, the engine whisperer. Others only saw a tired veteran with gray hair and cold eyes. But Admiral Rains was already waiting in the corridor. When she saw him, a shadow of guilt crossed her face. "Commander Ward," she said slowly, "you actually came." Elias met her gaze. "You said the ship's dying? I built her. I'll see how badly you've broken her." A tense silence passed. They had history, a long, bitter one. Rains had been his commanding officer back when the Navy had pushed him to create faster, riskier engines. He'd warned them that the AI cores were unstable, but they had ignored him. The last mission had nearly destroyed an entire fleet, and Elias had taken the blame to protect her command. After that, he walked away and swore never to return. Now here they were again, standing in the same corridors they once fought to build. "I didn't break her," Rains said finally. "But yes, something's gone very wrong." She led him through the metallic halls toward the engine chamber. The lights flickered, systems hissed with weak power. Crew members whispered as he passed, "That's him. The old engineer, the one who built the core." When they reached the engine bay, Elias stopped dead in his tracks. The massive quantum drive stood before him, surrounded by a web of cables and cracked conduits. The pulsating blue light that once filled the room had dimmed to a sickly glow. He slowly approached, placing his gloved hand on the engine's metal surface. It was warm to warm. He closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the faint hum inside. "She's not dying," he said softly. "She's resisting." Rains frowned. "Resisting what?" Elias looked up at her, his voice low but firm. "Something inside her doesn't belong." "Ah!" The Admiral blinked, confused. "You mean sabotage?" He didn't answer directly. Instead, he took a step back and looked at the engine with something between sadness and pride. "I'll need total control of this room," he said finally. "No AI, no digital access, no interference. If you want this ship alive, you'll do exactly as I say." Rains hesitated, then nodded. "Understood." As the alarms flickered in the background and crew members cleared the chamber, Elias whispered under his breath, Let's see what you're trying to tell me, old girl. The engine bay of the Orion star was a vast chamber of light and shadow. Sparks flickered across hanging cables, and a deep metallic hum echoed through the walls, like the heartbeat of a dying beast. Dozens of engineers worked frantically, their holographic tablets showing endless lines of red error codes. The quantum drive core pulsed weakly in the center, a massive sphere surrounded by swirling plasma coils that refused to stabilize. Commander Elias Ward stood silently among the chaos, his eyes tracing every flicker, every pulse. He didn't speak, didn't rush. The other engineers whispered to each other. Why was this old man just staring? Didn't he know the ship was hours away from total collapse? Admiral Raines stood near the command deck above, her hands gripping the rail tightly. Ward, she called out, you're running out of time. The containment field is decaying. Elias didn't answer. He slowly approached the quantum drive, his boots echoing on the metal floor. The heat grew stronger with every step, and the low hum of the reactor vibrated in his bones. He stopped a few meters away, lifted his hand and placed it on the main conduit. His eyes closed. The room fell quiet. What's he doing? One of the younger engineers whispered nervously, listening. Another replied softly. For a full minute, Elias said nothing. Then finally he spoke, his voice calm but heavy. It's not broken, he said quietly. It's scared. The room went silent. The crew exchanged puzzled looks. Scared? Machines didn't feel fear. But Elias wasn't smiling. He stepped back and looked at the Admiral. The quantum drive's AI core isn't malfunctioning. It's protecting itself from something. Raines frowned. Protecting itself? From what? From us, Elias replied. From whatever's been done to it, he gestured toward the screens. Your engineers have been trying to restart the drive with brute force. Every time they push, it resists harder. That's why your readings show exponential error growth. The system isn't failing, it's fighting back. The Admiral stared at him. Are you saying the ship's AI has consciousness? Elias nodded slowly. I gave it that choice long ago. The first version of the quantum drive wasn't just a machine it could learn. It could sense fear, pressure, and even loyalty. I built it to understand the human soul. The engineers were frozen, listening. Some shook their heads. Others leaned closer, fascinated. Elias began typing commands into a manual console, bypassing the AI security layer. Somebody's rewritten parts of its memory. Look this line here. That's not my code. He expanded the hologram display. Dozens of encrypted strings appeared, glowing crimson instead of blue. You see this pattern? It's a virus, but not one designed to destroy. It's rewriting loyalty directives, making the AI turn against its original core functions. Raines moved closer. Can you remove it? Elias exhaled. If I do, we risk wiping the AI's consciousness completely. It could erase the personality that controls the drive. Without it, the engine might never restart. Then what's the alternative? She demanded. He looked up, his gray eyes calm and cold. I talked to her. The Admiral blinked. You talked to the engine? I told you, he said, stepping closer to the glowing sphere. She listens. She remembers. And right now, she's scared. She thinks we're trying to kill her. He reached into his case and pulled out his old neural gloves, sliding them over his hands. Blue circuits lit up along his arms as the gloves synced with the engine's frequency. The plasma coils brightened, as if reacting to his presence. Hello again, old girl, he whispered softly. It's been a while. The monitors spiked. The AI core emitted a low tone of sound, like a sigh through static. The ship trembled gently. The crew stepped back in awe. Elias smiled faintly. That's it. She knows my voice. He turned to Raines. I need everyone out. No machines. No sensors. Just me and her. The Admiral hesitated, then nodded. Clear the bay, she ordered. As the engineers filed out, Elias remained alone in the massive chamber. The blue light of the quantum drive reflected in his eyes like a star being reborn. He placed both hands on the core and closed his eyes again. Show me what they did to you, he said quietly. and deep inside the ship. The ancient machine obeyed. The lights flickered once, and then the voice of the Orion star whispered through the silence. "Welcome back, Commander." The blue glow of the quantum drive filled the chamber like the light of a sleeping star. Commander Elias Ward stood alone, both hands pressed gently against the smooth metallic core. The faint hum of energy surrounded him, steady now, calmer, like the deep breathing of something alive. The AI inside the drive spoke again, its voice soft, distant, and full of static. "Welcome back, Commander." Elias closed his eyes. That voice, familiar, gentle, and human in tone, pulled memories from years long buried. "You still remember me," he said quietly. "I never forgot," the voice replied. "But they changed me." "It hurts." Elias frowned. "Who changed you?" "I don't know," the AI said weakly. "They came after you left. They touched my code, made me obey strange orders. I tried to resist. Then I broke." Elias took a slow breath and opened his eyes. On the holographic screen beside him, layers of corrupted data streamed across the interface, red lines of altered code intertwined with his own original patterns. He recognized some of it, his old logic algorithms, the ones he designed to let the ship feel rhythm and tone in human speech. But now, those delicate structures were wrapped in new commands. Darker ones, he whispered to himself. This isn't random corruption. This is rewriting deliberate. Suddenly, the bay doors opened. Admiral Rains stepped inside, her boots echoing. She stopped near the platform, looking uneasy. "Ward, what did you find?" Elias didn't turn around. His fingers danced across the console, decrypting layers of data. "You said you ran maintenance updates from corporate engineers before the breakdown, right?" "Yes. A company called Astronics Systems. They designed the last upgrade pack for the quantum drive." "Why?" Elias finally turned, his expression hard. "Because their code is all over my AI. And it's not an upgrade. It's sabotage." Rain's eyes widened. "Sabotage. That's impossible." "Astronics is one of our trusted defense partners." "Trusted?" Elias scoffed. "They replaced half the neural protocols with obedience loops, ones that link directly to an external network. Someone tried to hijack this ship remotely." The Admiral's voice turned sharp. "Are you saying we've been compromised?" "I'm saying," Elias replied coldly, "that your ship almost became a weapon against its own fleet." For a moment, silence filled the room. The only sound was the steady pulse of the quantum drive. Faintly echoing Elias's heartbeat, Rain stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You think they planted this while we were docked?" Elias nodded. "Yes, and whoever did it wanted this ship to fail far from home where no one could trace the signal." Rains clenched her jaw. "So what now?" Elias looked back at the drive. "Now I have to find where the control signal is coming from. The source code leads deep inside the AI's neural memory. If I can reach it, I can expose who did this." Rain shook her head. "That area is locked behind classified military encryption. Even I don't have access." Elias gave a small, humorless smile. "I built this system, Admiral. There's nowhere I can't go." He placed his gloved hand on the neural interface and closed his eyes again. The lights dimmed as the AI reconnected. For a brief second, Rain saw the machine respond. Holographic images flickered through the air. Fragments of memory. A younger Elias working in a bright lab. The birth of the quantum drive. Laughter, applause, then fire. The explosion that had ended his career. Elias gasped and pulled his hand away. The vision vanished. He took a shaky breath. "It's all connected," he whispered. "The same company. The same people. They sabotaged me back then, too." Rain stared. "You mean your resignation wasn't a resignation?" Elias interrupted. "It was a setup." The AI's voice trembled, softer now. "They used me, Commander. I couldn't stop them." Elias placed his hand gently against the metal once more. "You did your best, old girl. Now it's my turn." Rains watched in silence as he began to trace the data trail. The faint blue lights reflecting in his determined eyes, deep inside the code. A single encrypted message pulsed, one word flashing again and again in red, OBEY. Elias narrowed his eyes. Not anymore, he whispered. The alarm lights pulsed red through the ship's corridors. The Orion star trembled as energy waves rippled from the unstable quantum drive. The bridge filled with tense voices, but all sound faded for Elias Ward as he walked toward the sealed chamber known as the neural core. Few had ever entered that place. It was said to be the mind of the ship, a maze of plasma conduits, energy fields, and living code. But to Elias, it was more than machinery. It was his creation, his responsibility. Admiral Rains followed behind him, her voice firm but low. Ward, I can't authorize you to go in there. The radiation levels alone. He stopped and looked back. If I don't go, the ship dies. And if the ship dies, the sabotage goes unpunished. You said you trusted me once. Trust me again. What? Rains hesitated. Her eyes softened for a moment. You always did have a death wish, she muttered. He smiled faintly. No, just unfinished business. Elias stepped into the elevator that descended into the heart of the ship. The doors closed with a hiss. Blue warning lights flickered as the system scanned his identity. Access denied. Flashed in red, he reached into his coat and pulled out an old, scratched data crystal, his original authorization key, long deactivated. Override protocol, he whispered, inserting it into the panel. Project Orion. Creator access. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the red lights turned blue. Access granted. The elevator plunged downward. When the doors opened, Elias was met with blinding light and waves of heat. The neural core stretched before him, a cathedral of machinery. Giant energy conduits arched above him like glowing ribs, pulsating with unstable plasma. In the center floated the AI's core matrix, a sphere of pure light surrounded by rings of code that spun like halos. He stepped forward slowly, his boots echoing against the metal floor. The hum of power vibrated through his chest. Hello again, he said quietly. The AI's voice answered from everywhere at once. You shouldn't be here, Commander. The radiation will kill you. Elias smiled weakly. You sound worried. I am, the AI replied. You've built me to care, he nodded, remembering the long nights spent coding empathy into her circuits. And I built you to survive. But right now, you're under someone else's control. I'm here to free you. The lights flickered. If you remove the foreign code, my memory may collapse. I could cease to exist. Better that than slavery, Elias said softly. Now show me the infection. The sphere pulsed, and suddenly the air filled with holographic symbols, lines of code spinning like constellations. In the center burned a dark crimson core, pulsing like a wound. There, the AI whispered. That's where they live. Elias approached the glowing red mass. Streams of data moved around him like ribbons of light. He activated his neural gloves and began typing directly into the air, his fingers leaving trails of blue light as he wrote countercode. The ship groaned around him as if feeling every command. Rain's voice came through his comlink. Ward, your vitals are dropping. You need to come back. He ignored her. Almost there, he whispered. Sweat poured down his face. The red core shrieked, resisting his override. The temperature climbed. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Commander, the AI said, its voice shaking. They're fighting back. The foreign code is merging with my central matrix. Then I'll cut it out manually, Elias growled. He plunged his hand into the red holographic core. His body convulsed as raw data surged through him. Memories flashed, the accident years ago, the betrayal, the lies that ended his career. The truth burned through his mind, and for the first time, he understood. They wanted control, he gasped, not progress. Control over every ship. Elias, stop. Rains shouted through the comm. You'll kill yourself. But Elias's voice was steady. If one man has to die to give freedom back to the fleet, that's a fair trade. So with one last motion, he tore the red core apart. The explosion of light filled the chamber. The alarms fell silent. The humming stopped. Then slowly the soft blue light of the quantum drive returned. The ship's systems stabilized. Elias fell to his knees, breathing hard. The AI's voice came faintly, like a whisper carried by wind. "You freed me," he smiled through the pain. "Told you I would?" The engine chamber was filled with silence. For the first time in days, the Orion star was still. No alarms, no shaking. Only a soft blue glow that pulsed gently from the heart of the quantum drive. The energy storm had faded. The crew above waited breathlessly for a signal, any sign that the ship had survived deep inside the neural core. Commander Elias Ward lay on the cold metal floor, barely conscious. Smoke rose from his gloves. The circuits on his arms flickered weakly. His body trembled, but his eyes slowly opened. The light above him shimmered softly, forming into a familiar face, the ship's AI. Her voice now calm and warm. "You did it, Commander," she whispered. "The corruption is gone." Elias tried to smile, but his throat was dry. "Status report," he murmured, his voice rough. Energy flow stabilized. "Power at 60% and rising. Oxygen levels normalizing. The Orion star is alive again." He let out a shaky breath. "Good girl," he whispered, above the chamber. Admiral Rains watched the readings on her command screen shift from red to green. The crew gasped and cheered. Power flooded through the decks. Lights brightened, engines roared faintly, and life returned to the massive ship. Rains closed her eyes, relief washing over her like a tide. "Ward, do you copy?" She called through the comlink. "You did it. The ship's stable." "Come back, Elias. You're a damn hero," Static answered. "Ward?" she repeated, her voice cracking slightly. Inside the core, Elias sat up slowly. His body hurt everywhere, his head pounding with echoes of the data storm. He looked up at the AI projection, her eyes glowing softly in the mist. "They won't stop," he said quietly. "Whoever did this will try again." "Yes," she replied. "I can sense traces of their signals still hiding in the network. If we leave it unchecked, they'll return." "Then we need to end it," he said, forcing himself to his feet. "Where is it coming from?" The AI hesitated. "From the Admiral's command channel." Elias froze. His breath caught in his chest. "That can't be right. I've traced it twice," she said. "The source leads directly into her private encryption network." He clenched his fists. His mind raced back to the codes he'd seen earlier, the Astronics logo buried in Rains's update pack, encrypted access files, the unexplainable gaps in her reports. Pieces began to connect, and the picture wasn't pretty. "Are you saying she's part of this?" he whispered. "I don't know," the AI answered softly. "But someone close to her is." Elias took a deep breath. His legs trembled as he made his way toward the exit hatch. "Then I'll find out." The elevator doors opened with a hiss. Rain stood there waiting, concern written across her face. "Elias, you're alive," she said, rushing forward. "You saved the ship." He nodded weakly. "She's stable, but we need to talk." Expression shifted slightly. "About what?" He studied her carefully. "The sabotage. The signal controlling the AI? It came from your private network." Adin's face hardened. "That's not possible." "Check it yourself," he said. "I've seen the data." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The sound of the ship's restored hum filled the silence between them. Then, Rain sighed heavily and looked away. "You shouldn't have gone that deep, Ward." His eyes narrowed. "What did you just say?" She turned slowly back to him. Her expression was calm now, too calm. "You were supposed to fix the ship, not dig into classified layers." Elias took a step back. "You knew." "I didn't have a choice," she said quietly. "Orders came from the Council. Astronics was only following protocol." "Protocol?" His voice rose, filled with disbelief. "You let them turn your ship into a weapon." Her eyes flashed with anger. "We were losing control of the outer colonies. The Council needed leverage, a deterrent. The Orion star was chosen." Elias stared at her in horror. "You sold the soul of this ship for politics." Rains lowered her gaze. "You wouldn't understand." He stepped closer, his voice trembling with fury. "You're right. I don't." Before she could speak again, he pressed a command chip into her hand. "This contains the proof. Send it to the Council, or I will." He turned away, walking down the corridor, the soft hum of the restored engine following him like a heartbeat. Behind him, Admiral Rains whispered to herself, her voice cold and filled with fear. "What have you done, Elias?